In the coverage of the Agile Manifesto, today we dive into the first four principles. They're timeless, and their relevance extends far beyond software development. They provide guidance in the AI-enabled world, help us through continuous delivery, embracing change, rapid iteration, and dismantling silos between business and delivery teams. As AI blurs the lines between roles, business and delivery teams are converging. We see business leaders more and more creating solutions directly accessible to customers and delivery teams contributing to strategy, the definition, and implementation. For those businesses that have already been on an agile transformation and have embraced it, this journey feels natural. It feels like a continuation of something that they've been preparing for a long time. For those who have been holding to rigid processes, the principles offer a pathway, a roadmap, a guide to help us work in this AI-enabled future. Welcome. My name is Sean, and welcome to Agile for AI. Really happy that you're here today, and I will hope that you enjoy the time that we have together and this opportunity to share with you the experience, the learnings, and the thoughts that I have related to Agile, especially how it relates to AI. I see a lot of parallels between Agile and AI transformations, and I can also see how Agile will help us in the Agile transformations, in the AI transformations. It really gives us a lot of experiences, a lot of things that we've already figured out. We don't need to figure out again. We can leverage those experiences. I want to share those with you. Hopefully, they will make your AI transformations easier. And if you haven't engaged in an agile transformation, hopefully, it will make that easy to do. So, with that, if you have any questions, any comments, please drop them in. I'm always eager to hear from others. And let's dive right in. First thing from past discussion that I wanted to do was just a quick recap of the Agile Manifesto and specifically the values that we covered last time. If you haven't already, the Agile Manifesto, the original version, you can find it at agilemanifesto.org. So follow that link and you can see the original version of it. What I'm going to be using today is a slightly modified version. One of the things that I have encountered in my coaching is that a lot of people, depending on their team, they don't see the immediate relevance of the Agile Manifesto to what they're doing. Maybe they're not involved in technology. Maybe they're not involved in software development. A lot of operations teams, for example, don't immediately see the relevance because of the way that the Agile Manifesto is written. It's specifically written with software development in its wording. But in my experience, it's not limited to it. And that's what we have seen. It really applies to any industry, any type of work. So the edits that you'll see in this version, I've included them in the description if you're interested to grab them. And I always encourage people to write your own modified version of the Agile Manifesto that aligns with your business, what you do, so that it is relevant to people when they hear it. Otherwise, if you just use what's on the agilemanifesto.org website, they may not immediately see the connection and will dismiss it. But this is a critical aspect of an agile transformation, figuring out and focusing on the cultural elements that need to happen in order to achieve agility. So when we look at the Agile Manifesto, it has four values and 12 principles. The first value, which we covered already, which is that of individuals and interactions over process and tools. And arguably, from my perspective, this is the most important of the values, especially when we look at it in context of an agile and if an artificial intelligence transformation, AI transformation. The human element is encoded in this first value. Yes, processes and tools give us a tremendous lift, no question. And if we forget the human element, there will be impediments to implementation, and there are dangers that the implementation that we make is out of context with human elements, human concerns, human priorities, human needs. So we really need to keep this value in center consideration as we're moving through our agile or AI implementations. Next, if we look at working products and services over comprehensive documentation, the important element here is that Yes, there are many things that need to be done beyond just delivering the products and services that we're producing. From an agile perspective, we're saying that what's most important is delivering those products and services. The other things, it's not that they're not important and they may be essential, necessary. However, what's most important is getting those products and services to our clients. We prioritize that. Moving along, when we're looking at customer collaboration over contract negotiation, it's not about ignoring laws and the necessities of legal contracts, but it is about recognizing that things change. When rubber meets the road and we have to deal with real time situations, we need to make a choice. And if we choose to just beat our customers over the head with a contract, that is not conducive to creating the best working relationship and long term relationship with our customers. Some companies behave that way and they're very difficult to work with, whereas others, they take a much more flexible approach. Another page. Agile says to consider this. And lastly, fourth value is that of responding to change over following a plan. Yes, the plan may say, Microsoft project may tell us, walk 3 miles north. But if 1 mile into it, we discover that the bridge is down, what do? Traditional approaches say, well, that's what the plan says, so we have to do what the plan says. An agile approach is saying, no, you look at the reality of what's happening and you adapt to it. And if that means that you have to change the plan, yes, that's what you do. You change the plan. Doesn't mean that agile doesn't value and doesn't consider planning. Quite the opposite. It's continuously planning and adjusting the plan to meet realities. So this is a set of the four values. Values are inspirational in nature. They describe a higher state of thinking, of being, and that's great. And they give us a North Star that we can be walking towards. How do we connect that to our day to day reality? When we look at Agile, I've mentioned before that there is the cultural elements, the Agile, the core of Agile. And then there are what some people call, like the majority of people call agile methodologies. I dislike the terminology. It's an inconsistent methodology. It's a consistent terminology. The terms agile and methodology are almost antonyms. Let's call them agile practices. There are agile practices. Those agile practices are processes and tools. And agile introduces a lot of processes and tools that lead to business agility. So we have the reality, the practical reality of those mental practices. How do we merge those? How do we put them into practice and maintain our thinking and our behavior consistent within the scope of the agile values? The glue in between the two is the agile principles, the set of 12 agile principles. These are the ones that give us a day-to-day set of guidelines, things to watch out for, approaches to take that allow us to work in a way that is consistent with the values and enabling to the implementation and the use of the agile practices. This is very relevant in an AI transformation. Um, because we're looking at ways that work of working that accelerates the pace of work. Dot-com era already did that. It already pushed traditional ways of working to the limit. It couldn't keep up. Something new was needed. The answer was agile. And now AI transformations are going to bring that fast and fierce, much, 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 much quicker, a lot more challenges. Agile is preparing us for us. Agile is training us to be able to deal with that so that when we get to the AI transformations, we have the proper perspective, proper roles, the proper relationships, the proper ways of working that allow us to work at an increased speed, the increased speed that AI will deliver. So these agile principles are enduring beyond just software development. Um, I mentioned if you just look at the original version of the Agile Manifesto and some principles as they're written, people may be confused when they see software written all over it. They may think that it's not relevant to them. If you use the version that I'm presenting today, hopefully that you won't encounter that the confusion and that objection. So the version that I'm going to be presenting is slightly edited, very few edits, but they're important in order to prevent that obstacle of thinking that this is just related to software development, which is not. It relates to any type of work that we do. So the first one of the principles that we'll cover four today. The first one is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable products and services. From an agile perspective, we're always concerned about the customer from the customer's perspective. What is of value to them? And we recognize that, think of the society that we live in today. People's attention span is very, very short. If we're not delivering something continuously, quickly to them, they're going to get distracted. They're going to be looking at some other pretty shiny somewhere, and we've lost their attention. Um, we need to seize the opportunity. We need to deliver to them something that's of values to them and do it continuously. It's not good enough that we did something great 5 years ago. Well, what have you done recently? It would be great if we had much stronger relationships. And the way to create those stronger relationships is by delivering continuously things that the customers deem of value. Now, in order to do that, principle is telling us is to focus not just on creating outputs, so that in doing things, widgets that don't deliver any value, just to be able to put on a checklist. Yes, we did. We were very busy. We worked. And what did we deliver to the customer? Oh, nothing. We're not ready to deliver anything to the customer. That's not good enough. That's not acceptable in today's world. As we're completing things, we need to be able to deliver them to the customers as quickly as possible. And the way to do that is to structure, to define our work in terms of not just pile of things to do, which we call outputs, but as objectives and outcomes. What is the purpose of what we're doing? Deliver that, deliver the purpose, not just the things that are needed for that purpose. If I need um, a chair, okay, don't give me four legs. That's not a chair. I can't sit on it. Give me the chair. Like that, look at what the customer needs and deliver incrementally, small pieces. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but something that they can use while we deliver the whole piece incrementally, one step at a time. This is a radical concept that takes us away from traditional software and any type of work development. Because before, we used to spend a lot of time thinking all of the possible iterations and details and everything. And at that time, we may have known them before we started implementing. Today, the reality is that we don't know. There's a lot of things that we haven't figured out, and we figure them as we go. We can't wait to figure them all out, to discover all of the things that need to be discovered along the journey before we deliver something of value to our customers. As we put things together that are valuable, that will help our customers, get that to them right away as quickly as possible. One of the challenges in the way of thinking that has interfered, that has prevented us from being able to deliver quickly to customers is precisely that view of looking at the work as a complete work, as an object. And I've got the object and I give it to them, that output. Intellectual property is not commodity property. Intellectual property really is an evolutionary process that along the way, the more that we share it, the more it grows. So it's to our advantage and our customers' advantage. Put it in their hands as quickly as possible so that we get feedback, we get information that is going to reshape the future iterations and the continuing development, implementation of whatever it is that we're doing. Now, as we're working in today's world, The reality is that we have stakeholders, everybody who's not a customer, but who is vested in the work that we're doing, who come to us with their needs. And we can't ignore our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are critical to our work relationships, and our ability to do things. They may be funding the work that we're doing, for example. So ignoring the stakeholders is not a good idea. However, we need to keep the customer foremost in our priority. This requires strategic prioritization to make sure that we're delivering to those customers, even when sometimes it means having our stakeholders wait. And that's a difficult thing to do. The people who get to do that have a really challenging job. And it's essential that they do a good job so that we are delivering continuously to the customer as quickly as possible, as often as possible, in order to have happy customers. Now, the introduction of AI is going to significantly improve our ability to deliver quickly to customers. So that's the plus. And it's going to create the challenge of managing larger volumes of work and strategically prioritize it accordingly to making sure that our customers are happy. So these are considerations that we're going to have to work through as AI integrates into the workplace, and it enhances our ability to deliver continuously and hopefully better and better products every day. Moving along, we're talking about the second principle, that of we welcome changing requirements, even late in delivery. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Try to consider that where we come from that waterfall perspective, required a tremendous amount of upfront figuring out the details before any work was done, with the expectation that once we were done, we would be delivering exactly what the customer wanted because that's what we had figured out from the very beginning. That required a lot of work. And the type of work that we were doing for a long time many times aligned well with that, but not all work. And I go back to intellectual property work is not the same as commodity work. I have a lot of intellectual property work that's being done today. It requires thinking, that requires figuring things out. And many times we don't know until we're there. We don't know what we don't know. We need to figure it out. It's part of doing the job. When we find ourselves in that situation, there's going to be late discovery. That's just the nature of agile work. So instead of being worked up and upset that, oh, well, why didn't they tell us sooner about that? If they'd only told us sooner, we could have avoided X, Y, Z. It's saying, okay, we understand that there's been a change. And we understand that abiding by that change, honoring that change, delivering based on that change will give our customers a competitive advantage. And that benefit to them is a benefit to us in our relationship with them. So we don't look at it as a fatal, a fault, a failure. No, we look at it as okay. Now we know, so now we adapt to it. Now we realize that the bridge is down a mile into it, so we need to figure out what to do. And sometimes it means that we're going to go in a different direction, and sometimes it means that we need to get clever to figure out how to get across, even though the bridge is down. This is just responding to reality. It's responding to what's actually happening, as opposed to what we thought what was going to happen, what we hoped would happen. Real time response to changing conditions is critical. And as we introduce AI to the workplace, there's going to be more and more need to respond well to real time changes. AI will create them, will accelerate them, and it will surface new opportunities, new perspectives, new ways of looking at things that we hadn't considered when we set off to do whatever it was that we were doing. And we're going to have to react to it. So the human element in here that's really important, is really where the value add that we bring in as humans, is that risk management, that perspective, that real-time decision making, critical decision making, that is going to help us navigate through the speed at which AI is going to take us. It's like changing from a calm a water ride, leisurely going to the rapids. It's figuring out as things are coming at us really quickly, how do we shift? How do we navigate through to get through safely? AI will be a change accelerator. And this mindset that Agile has introduced will help us keep up with it, or otherwise it would be very difficult to do. So, moving to the third principle, we deliver working products or services frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference for the shorter time scale. And what we're talking about here is, again, looking historically where we come from. A lot of the work that traditionally has been contracted is quarters or years into the future. And that's not good enough anymore. We need to be delivering continuously. This aligns with the first principle that we already covered today. As we are completing work, we need to make sure that that work is ready to be handed to the customer. There may be business reasons, strategic reasons, market reasons that say don't do it right now. And we schedule it for a convenient time. But the work that we're doing, we need to make sure that we structure it in such a way that if we had to deliver it right now today, we would be able to do it. So that the earliest time possible, we can do it. And we avoid what we've called the big bang deliveries. This is when we hold off and we have this massive update or item that we're delivering to the customer. We're saying, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. And we hold off the delivery until we have everything together and then we change the entire world on them. This is a bit unkind. And this is something that Agile says to be a little bit more mindful. It's always difficult to adapt to change. And yes, continuous change is also difficult to manage. I acknowledge that. However, when we have huge change, and we've been waiting a long time, we've been putting up with whatever deficiencies and lacks that we have today for the big delivery of the thing that we've been waiting for. And it doesn't meet our expectations and needs, that's very demoralizing. That can really damage our working relationships with peers, with customers. So that's against our best interests. And especially in a situation where there may be a lot of unknowns, if we wait based on assumptions, continuing to do work based on what we thought was the case, and then we surprise people with something that doesn't align with what they were building in their heads, well, that's a recipe for disaster. Agile says don't do that. Agile says deliver as often as possible. You get a lot of feedback. You create feedback loops. I tell many teams when I work with them, there are some practices, and we'll talk about them in the future, but there's some practices that recommend working in 2 week increments. And what I tell them is, look, consider that any team can recover from a complete disaster of 2 weeks. And it's not really wasted or lost work. Yes, the thing that we did, maybe we have to completely throw it away and then start it from scratch. The work itself may be thrown away. We learned something. We discovered something that we didn't know. And if we had waited longer, we would have kept on going on long information that would have made the problem a lot bigger. Then we have a huge problem that maybe is unrecoverable. If we're continuously delivering every couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, but it's the shortest time possible, we will get that feedback. And if we've created that collaborative working relationship with our customers, that feedback will help us adjust our trajectory and deliver to them what they do want. It's very reassuring where our customers hear from us, they see from us that we've responded to their feedback. And the next iteration, we're giving them something that they're happy about. That really nurtures trust. That really nurtures the relationship, the working relationship, so that we can continue going through. And yes, we understand that there's going to be miscommunications and there's going to be surprises. And we have a process, we have a way to work through them. As we're delivering things quicker, we're also increasing the ROI, the return on investment for the thing that we've delivered. It may not be complete, it may not be the whole thing, but if we deliver something that is already useful, our customer gets to benefit from their investment earlier than if we waited for the big thing to be delivered all complete. They get to enjoy the benefit of their investment a lot sooner, and that makes them happier. One of the things that I've encountered many times while coaching teams is that teams really struggle with this constant delivery. It's like every 2 weeks, you have to deliver something, you have to deliver something. And what I have found is that the more the teams find themselves struggling, best way to move forward is to make the delivery time scale even shorter, not longer. If a team is struggling to deliver every 2 weeks, then change your time scale to every week. Initially, everybody's going to scream and say that's impossible. However, what this is signaling is that we really need to look at the way that we're defining the work and the way that we're delivering the work so that we can work at a faster pace. Once teams learn that skill, then it's very natural. It becomes very natural and it becomes a lot easier to manage the work. It's becomes a lot easier to define it. AI is going to accelerate this even further. There may be the iteration cycle between conceptualizing something and delivering it may become hours or maybe even minutes. We need to be prepared to work at smaller timescales, not longer timescales. Agile is preparing us for it so that when we get to the AI speed, okay, now we know to adapt to the speed, but we already are accustomed to the concept of delivering faster and faster. Agile gives us that. And the next principle that I want to cover today is that deals with the relationship between business and delivery teams. The business people and delivery teams work together daily throughout the product or service life cycle. This again is another departure from how waterfall does things. So waterfall institutionalized, siloed way of working. You throw things over the fence. Business and delivery teams don't work together. There's a process by which you get things, and there's a contractual relationship between the two as work is done. And what that did is it really focused people on what they're doing without understanding the whole of what's needed to be done to deliver work to customers. That's led to a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of unreasonable expectations when requesting delivery teams to do things. And from the delivery team's perspective, it really doesn't give them a complete picture of what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. Why is it relevant? Why is it important? While they hold subject matter expertise from implementing things, they tend to operate in a vacuum, not aware of what the business is trying to accomplish. Agile changes that. Agile brings business and delivery teams together on a daily basis, where the business directly influences and contributes to the definition of the work that needs to be done with the delivery teams right there. So they get feedback right away of what's feasible, what's not, what's going to be challenging, what's going to be easier. They get to hear the options right away. The delivery teams can also provide their perspective from their experience working on this on the type of work that's being addressed. And that can influence the implementation that can influence the business perspective on how things can be done. Or it can offer new ways of doing things that the business had never considered just because it wasn't aware of. The lines between business and delivery teams have been blurring because of Agile. And now what I see moving forward is those lines potentially going away altogether. We now have the real opportunity to create work environments where business analysts, for example, obviously with proper setup from implementation teams, they could be in a position where they can define the work and have it implemented by an AI all the way to delivery to customers. I'm not suggesting that you do that today. We're not there yet. The possibility, the elements to get us there are absolutely already in place. Some people are playing with them. Some people are experimenting to see how far we can get there. Conversely, delivery teams can now focus more on the business aspect of it, on what it is that we're putting together and what are the business motivators behind it. They can be direct contributors to this process and they can provide really astute observations and analysis of what's being produced in order to refine it, in order to make it better. If you're hearing a blurring of the QA lines, yes, is also part of it. So business, delivery, QA, all of these things are merging together. AI will accelerate that a lot more. And maybe in the future, we won't be talking about these things as being separate. We're just talking about this as part of the process of creating products and services without the distinctions, the hard distinctions that we have today. And as we move into that model, human expertise is going to be more and more relevant. Barring an AGI or an artificial superintelligence, I don't know what happens in that world. But until we get there, the human expertise and ability to look at things as we produce them quickly, determining their value, adjusting to it, it's going to be really, really, really important. And if we have business and delivery teams working closer together, everybody's going to be in a better position to make good decisions, to highlight the things that really matter, are really important, and to do it within the context of delivering the best quality services and products to our customers. So delivery teams are now heading in a direction that they really become strategic partners with business in the delivery of products, and not just the delivery of the products, but the conceptualization, the visualization of products. Human judgment role is going to be critically important. There are cultural implications to this shift. Today, there have been, whether valid or not, a lot of attitudes and a lot of separation between business and delivery implementation teams. And those are going to start breaking down. They're not going to make sense anymore for the type of work that Agile and AI are appropriate. So we really need to consider how all of this shift is going to be affecting the workplace of tomorrow as AI accelerates what Agile has already got it started on. So, as I've mentioned before, and I feel very, very strongly about, and I'm very, very passionate about, Agile has been seen it as a training ground opportunity. It has provided us with the incremental steps, moving away from the waterfall way of doing things. And now we see good reasons for doing that that apply to the future. AI is going to accelerate what Agile has already started accelerating. Agility will be even faster and faster. And Agile has started preparing us for that. So I invite you to really take a look at the work that you're doing today. Consider how it is going to be accelerated by AI, and consider whether your company has already embraced an agile way of thinking, increased its business agility to respond to your current pressures and your current needs. And if you haven't, take a close look at Agile and see if it can help you. I'm sure that it can, and it will prepare you for how AI is going to accelerate it even more. So, with that, I hope that you found it of value, and if so, please you can subscribe. And we'll continue with the next set of four Agile principles next time that I see you. With that, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the comments.